from Barcelona, and I'm not going to use slides. At a practical level, I wasn't sure how good the internet would be here, so I decided not to use slides. And the second thing is I wanted this webinar to be like an experience as well as a kind of talk. So I wanted to create an opportunity for us to be able to sit with ourselves and with each other as we explore and discuss and talk about how we cultivate the willingness to bear discomfort. And I feel very honored to be here talking to you, although I imagine Lily and Damien probably regretted it immediately after they asked me, because I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. And they were emailing me, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to talk about? And looking back now, I could have just asked you what you wanted. I didn't think of that then. So what I thought about is, what do I care about? What am I practicing? What am I exploring in my own practice? And the thing that I am looking at is, how do I develop my capacity to bear discomfort? Because if I feel uncomfortable in a session and I can't bear it, then I will move and defend or protect or discharge or move away from or move towards comfort. I'll do something that then won't allow what's happening in the space or what's happening in me or in my client to emerge. And the important thing about this is it happens so insidiously, so out my knowledge of it, so unconsciously, that I don't even know when I've moved away from myself. So I just wanted to check. I want everybody just to check right now as I'm introducing this topic. What are you noticing in yourselves as I talk about this? There was something about this topic that was interesting to you, that got your attention, that meant that you came here. So just check in. How are you doing right now in yourself? What are you aware of? What are you noticing? What are you pushing away? What are you moving towards? Just take a moment just to check in.
Can you hear me okay? Hello? Can you hear me?
Fiona, we can.
Yeah, okay, lovely. Just, I'm aware of pleasure at seeing you, and very also aware of some of the other people I know and care about. So it's just lovely to be in this group. And as you're speaking, I'm remembering times when I've thought more about what I'm going to do in my shopping list after the call I'm on. And then I think, oh no, I shouldn't be thinking about that. Or I might be thinking about the evening that's coming or the day that's just been. And so when I notice my attention go, I'm more likely to catch that. And occasionally, I'm more aware of my own bodily sensations. It could be a tightness in my chest or tears in my eyes. So, I mean, it's fascinating, this topic, which is why I was interested to come.
Thank you. Thank you, Fiona. Delightful to see you. So part of the session is I'm going to talk a little, and I want you to be listening to me and then listening to yourself. What's happening to you as I talk? And then we're going to put you into breakout rooms, and you're going to talk about how you defend, how you notice when you're defending, when you're pushing away, when you're moving away from something. And then I'm going to bring you back, and we're going to talk about how you know when you're connected, when you're staying with, when you are in that place of comfort with yourself that feels like you're open to whatever's happening, however we call it. And then you're going to go back into breakout rooms, and then we're going to end the call. So that's roughly how the call's going to go. And first of all, I'm just going to tell you a story about why this is especially important to me. And as I tell you the story, I just want you to notice what happens in you as you hear me talk. So I'm from New Zealand. I lived in the UK for many years, and at that time I was heading the program leader of CSA UK. And then 3 years ago, I got a dream job in the US. I moved to the US. I met somebody, which arguably brings a level of discomfort anyway, and I got into a relationship, and I flew back to the UK. I was on a retreat, and I got news that I'd got my visa, and I went for a run, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I have the life, I've made it. I have the life that I want. And then immediately this little voice went, don't get too excited, something bad will go wrong. And I realized that even the capacity to experience joy and deep fulfillment, there is some part of me that doesn't allow that. And then I got back from the UK, and a week later, my boss called me and said that she was leaving and she was going to Amazon, and that I was about to be the boss. So I'd only been in this job for 3 months, and I was, Then I hung up from her. I answered the telephone, and when I'd been in the UK, I'd had some tests, and I got told that I had breast cancer. And I went and told my relationship, the new relationship that I was in, and he'd had cancer, and he got triggered, and so he withdrew. So I was now living in the US with no boss, a brand new job that I didn't know how to do, breast cancer, no medical insurance, and no friends. And so I noticed what I did was I got busy doing my new job. I got busy going to several million different types of doctors, looking for different opinions, thinking I didn't have cancer. I got busy avoiding it. I got busy arguing with radiologists. I got busy avoiding doing, running around, doing more coaching supervision, putting my diary. And then until one day when it hit me, I was walking along the road, and I felt, I don't know how to bear this level of discomfort. I don't know how, I feel like I'm gonna burst. I felt like the tension was so extreme that I was gonna die. I thought I would explode with this much tension. And then a thought came to me that went, oh, I wonder what happens. I wonder how much tension you can bear. I wonder what happens when you get to your end. I wonder, how do you know when the end is the end? How do you know how much capacity you have for any kind of thing that's happening to you? Do you just keep taking one step after another? And I think that curiosity about what will happen next helped me to come back to myself. It helped me to reconnect to myself. And then I got curious about what I needed to do next. But the reason that I'm bringing this today is that so many of if you'd met me, you would have thought during all of this that I was okay. And that I find many of our clients come in, and at one level they're presenting as a kind of functioning, everything's going okay, I've got this and that going on, but I'm managing it. That they present in a managing kind of way. And that the only way we can find out often what's really going on is by how we feel. Our sensations, our images, our feelings, whatever's happening in the room, that discomfort that they're often letting us know in a way that's not verbally. I'm pretty sure that everybody who met me kind of had a sense that there was something not quite right about me, but I wasn't saying that. So our ability to bear discomfort when we're sitting with a client enables us to pick up stuff that's going on for them. However, so how do we, and so my question is, and this to you is, how do you move away from that so that you can know, like I know I get busy, I get in my head and I start to spin, I get, I collude, I try and fix, I disassociate, I get irritable, I control. There are all these signals that tell me that I'm moving away from my discomfort, that there's something in the system, in my client going on that I need to pay attention to. So what I'd love you to do now is, Lily, if you could put people into groups of 3 for 10 minutes, what I want you to do is to talk about what happens to you when you start to feel uncomfortable, when something's going on and you're not kind of sure. What do you know about yourself that you move away from it? Do you go into your head? Do you get busy? Do you start to collude, reassure, fix? What are the signs? And the reason why I'm asking you is so that you know the signs, so that you know when you're starting to move away, that you're not doing like me, thinking that you're managing it, thinking that it's okay, but you can understand and feel, so you know it's a sign that there's something going on. Before we go, any questions? I know somebody's just put something in the chat. Great. Anybody got any questions about what you're going to discuss? This is when you're in sessions and somebody's coming and you feel yourself wanting to kind of move away. How do you know what the signs are? Okay, Lily, 3 people, 10 minutes.
Okay, so you'll get an invitation to join, and you click join, and at 9 minutes the message will come. You're closing down in 1 minute. You don't have to come back. The Zoom account will automatically bring you back into this session after 1 minute. Okay, 10 minutes, and it will be random. Welcome back.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, and
We're back.
I forgot to mention earlier that we are recording this call. So
Nice.
if anybody has a discomfort at the end that doesn't want it shared, let us know. Otherwise, it will be posted on the website within a week or so. All right, so back over to you, Leanne.
Thank you. So I'm curious about what you discovered talking about that. We've got a couple of minutes to hear from a few people, and then we'll go on to the next part. So who would like to share?
Okay, this is the opportunity to be comfortable.
I'll share. Leanne, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hi.
Dominique.
So one of the things that came up in our triad was connecting to our bodies, listening to what our bodies are telling us in terms of where we feel discomfort, that we tend to go into our heads, our minds, and try to either overdo or analyze. And we talked about having compassion for what's showing up, for what we're feeling, and being present. That presence is of most importance, and connecting with ourselves and with our client when we're feeling discomfort, and being vulnerable, open, and compassionate.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy. Yeah, I think the disconnection happens when we go up into our heads, and then we disconnect from our body and our heart and the other person. And then I don't even know that I'm disconnected, because I have a facsimile me in here that's like me, but it's a smaller kind of head version. What else? What else did people discover?
time to report out. The discomfort showed its face.
Hi, Julie.
Hi. But
Hi.
what we talked about was honesty, right? How it's not easy to be honest with ourselves, and how that takes courage and being vulnerable. And many of the things that was just stated about the physiological signs, checking into that and using that. And as you said, Leanne, not staying in the head, it's head, heart, and gut, right? But it's a very fresh and real topic for me, especially right now.
Yeah, I noticed that I shouldn't be disconnected. Like I have a judgment that comes in. I shouldn't be disconnected. I shouldn't be in my head. I should be more present. And the shoulds end up keeping me disconnected more. And then I shouldn't be. So I then should my shouldn'ts, and then I just go into this. I shouldn't be judgmental, and then I just spiral. We have a chat, somebody who's talked about, somebody's just listening. It translates into judgment, either towards the client or towards oneself or a supervisor. I6 helps a lot. Yes, thank you, Dominique. It's so true. Anybody else want to share anything?
Leanne, I was sharing that yesterday I was teaching a class, a coaching program, and it was a very uncomfortable moment. And in that uncomfortable moment, I tell people, okay, what can we learn from this? So trying to make the uncomfortable space a learning opportunity. So for one part, it is like learning and rationally how we can take advantage of this learning opportunity. But then there is another part of me as a facilitator that I would rather know how to deal with it. So it's like rationally, it's okay, how we can learn from this. But then there is a part that I wanted to avoid it if I could.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in line with what Damien just said, with that story he told us, we realized that once we are uncomfortable, we kind of start talking and talking and talking instead of just, going into silence. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. We click into some kind of automatic. So thank you. I want to move into how important it is to know as a supervisor and in a wider area of your life, but because this is mostly about supervision today, to know what it is, what your feeling is when you've moved away, what you've disconnected, what are the triggers, or how can you set your life up so you know when you've gone, and so that you know that you can come back. So one of the ways that I use, and I'd love to try it with you guys now, is just, and I'm sure many of you have your own practice and your own way of doing this, but let's just hang out with mine because I'm doing it. This is my webinar. So I'd love you to put your feet on the ground and your body on the seat. And so one of mine is just really, I start to wiggle my toes, and when I can feel through my toes against the floor, I can feel the pressure of the floor against my feet. And then I feel the pressure of the seat, of my body on the seat. And I can feel that support, like, okay, the seat and the floor are holding me up. And then I go into feeling my legs. So I feel like I take my consciousness. So I'd like you to do it with me, to take your consciousness into your legs. So you're almost in your legs. There's a felt sense of your legs. And your legs may be spacious or heavy or light or dense, just noticing the quality of your legs. And then taking your attention into your arms and just noticing the quality of your arms. Are they dense? Are they spacious? Are they heavy? And then feeling your backbone and just noticing the strength of your backbone and feeling one vertebrae on top of the other and just feeling that whole vertebrae holding you up. So you have your vertebrae, your spine, all those, that bone structure holding you up. You have the chair, you have the ground, and you have your arms and your legs. You have a solid container. And then I ask, and I'm asking you guys, what's here? Are there any parts of me or any voices or sensations or anything that wants my attention? Is there anything that wants to speak to me or wants me to notice it? Or and then I listen to the parts of me that speak. And as I'm listening, I want you to just imagine that you're putting your arms around all the different parts of you. Parts of you that are feeling uncomfortable or a bit angry or a bit annoyed, tired. Just all those little parts. And as we're doing this, I invite you to smile and just to deepen your breath a little. Just noticing there's so much of you available to you. You're such a wise, childlike, fun, intelligent, just noticing who you are and the felt sense of you. And just inviting your heart to open to you. And I just want you to think of 3 words that describe this feeling that you're feeling right now. What are 3 words that come to mind to kind of describe how you feel when you're holding yourself with loving kindness? Just 3 words to describe this. So I'd like you to just wiggle your toes and wiggle your fingers and come back into a kind of relationship with us, with me, with each other. And then we're going to go into another breakout room. And Lily, if we could just do 7 minutes. And I'd just like you to go into a breakout room and just share your 3 words. And just anything else that came to you as you were coming back to yourself. Just 3 words to describe that part of you. And I'll see you back here in 7 minutes.
Okay.
All right, here we are. Over to you, Leanne.
We're all back.
Nice to see people coming back, flashing up.
So I just wanted to pause for a moment and for you guys to notice how different it is. Well, for you to notice if it is different, the space now with us all. when we look at each other, and how you feel in yourself as you come back into this room. What you notice is different. And I'm asking you to notice that, because I think for me, one of the big markers, whether I know that whether I'm in my facsimile in my head self, or whether I'm more fully embodied in a more kind of deeper, realer, truer self, is whether I kind of feel compassion and warmth and kind of tenderness. And so I have like markers for myself, because I can so easily kind of obscure myself. I can so easily trick myself that I'm okay, everything's okay. And so I have different ways of checking whether I'm really where I am. And then sometimes when I know that I'm, like at the beginning of this call, I was like, oh, I'm in Barcelona. I don't know about the internet. I don't know how this call's going to go. I'm going to share something really personal. And I could tell that I wasn't fully in myself. And then there was a part of me that's like, get in yourself. Like, I'm like, ah. And that I just know when I'm telling myself to get into myself, that there's like, I can't make myself get into myself, that I just have to hold myself with loving kindness and talk to all the different parts of me and feel my body. And gradually I come back to myself when things fall away. It's not something that I can make happen. And that I can just notice where I am and talk to people. And I love what, Lise, you said we were wondering when it was appropriate to share that sensation with the other person. And I think that's a really good question about when do you share that? And I think when I feel in myself more, then I know how to share it. But when I'm caught in a part of me, then when I'm sharing it in that way, sometimes it kind of goes a bit. So there's something about just holding it and noticing and allowing that kind of thing to bubble up. Like, oh, I notice I feel this, or I notice I'm picking this up. But I try not to share that until I feel like I'm more in a solid space. I find that if I'm in it and I share it, then it kind of goes wonky for me if I'm not kind of in a more solid place. So I guess the answer to that is appropriate to share the sensation when I feel really genuinely curious about it and genuinely connected to a more solid place in myself. I'm aware of time, and I wanted to leave the call really just asking you about how. So I wanted to leave with some kind of takeaways. And I also wanted to tell you that I'm fine, because I realized that I told you all that I had breast cancer, and I forgot to kind of finish the story. Like 2 years later on, I'm good. But what it did teach me was like, when I got back, when I realized that I'd been kind of disconnected and I came back into myself, was I realized that, and this is part for me about that whole coming back to self, was I realized that nobody was going to save me, that nobody was going to do it, that I had to find my way, and that I had to take responsibility for myself and find friends, find a support system. And I wrote to 15 women. I said, okay, I'm about to go into this kind of breast cancer journey. Will you support me? And I think, you know, that whole idea about supervision is a support. How do we set up support structures in our lives? And supervision was really powerful, and lots of other things helped me. And I know that not everybody has a story, but we all have our own stories. You don't have my story. We all have our own stories about how we find support, and how we, when we can't do it ourselves, put our arms around us. How do we get other people to put to put their arms around. And it was really powerful for me, just not asking for help, you know, asking to have other people to hold me and support me. And I'm sure each of you have your story around that. Allowing grace, I think, allowing grace. So the thing that I wanted to kind of finish on was the process that I can't allow. So it's, yeah. So how do we create the conditions for grace to appear? And for me, it's setting the intention for each call. So when I arrive at a call, a supervision call, it's setting the intention. How do I want to be? What's the purpose of this call? How can I be in service? And then it's staying with myself, noticing myself, allowing my reactions, watching for them, checking with myself. And that's about breathing and sensing my body and noticing images or thoughts or feelings that come, just noticing them. And sharing from a place. When I share, when I notice, it's sharing from a deeper place in me, like, oh, I'm noticing this is happening, or I'm noticing I'm getting this image, or I'm noticing I'm feeling kind of contracted, or sharing it with my client, but from more of a sort of centered self place. And then checking, always checking, what does that mean to you? How does that impact you? What's an insight that came from me? What was it like for me to say that? So always checking in, because I've seen people say it without checking. And then staying close to myself and staying close to my clients, staying in connection, keeping on coming back to that place. And for me, it's like the markers, you know, how am I feeling in relationship to me? And then the last point that I want to mention is taking it to supervision. And so I suppose that is my order. The rest of it is just up to grace, but I feel like setting up the conditions for grace to happen is my job. So my job is to do the things that need to be done in order for something else to emerge. And so am I doing my part in that? And I'm seeing that there's lots of comments in the chat, which I love. Focusing by Eugene Gendlin, I love that. So thanks for those people contributing. And we have 4 minutes. I'd like to end before the end of time, but I just wanted to create some space right now as we come to the end for anything that anybody wants to say. As we're creating this kind of collective wisdom circle, anything anybody wants to add?
Leanne, what?
I wanted to say thank you. Go ahead, Damien, but I want you to hear a huge heartfelt thank you for showing up, being real, sharing your beautiful story, and allowing it to be simple with some takeaways and really a recipe. So thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks.
So Leanne, I also want to thank you. And I have done tons of workshops over the years, and I had never had one on this topic. So I think it's a great opportunity to reflect on that. And I do believe a good supervision question that I am taking is exploring with coaches as supervisors. How do they relate to being uncomfortable as coaches? What made them uncomfortable, and what are their choices? And also for us as supervisors, I do believe that as somebody talked before about I-6, sharing that and as about a parallel process. There is a possibility that if we are feeling uncomfortable in a supervision session, that something similar is happening during the coaching session. So bringing I-6 and 5, I think that can make a difference in exploring this space of being uncomfortable.
Thank you, Damien. Any other one more comment, and then we need to close?
Perhaps I can say that
Fiona.
what's come from me towards me is great compassion for the self and for others, and actually that for me is the heart of it all.
Yeah.
Thank you. From my heart to yours.
Thank you, everyone. I wish you a good day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for coming and sharing your heart and your thinking and your head and your bodies. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you, Leanne. What I really appreciated was the interactivity in this session, where we got to really feel the discomfort and talk about it and connect with our colleagues heart to heart, as Fiona said. So just in closing, the next call is on January 21st, and please note it's at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's a little bit of a different time change, and it's Henry Campion talking about attachment theory, which is one of my favorite topics. And then February the 8th, we're back to the 8 o'clock opening, and Dr. Michel Morel, he's here, will be leading us through a conversation around supervision of internal coaches. And then March 11th, Lillian, who's on the call as well, will be joined by with Benita and Joe Birch, same time, 8 a.m., to talk about culture and diversity in supervision. And we'll get all that out to you. This call will be posted within the next week or so, depending on availability of our webmaster, Demian. Do you have anything to add, Demian? Oh, of course, I forgot the supervision conference. June the 13th and 14th in Montreal. I know at least half of you are going to be there, so that's really exciting. How did I forget that? Do you want to add anything to that, Natalia?
Well, maybe that early birds for the conference is until January 31st. So
Okay,
if you want to enjoy the early bird prize, please go on the Eventbrite.
Excellent. Thank you. Demian, over to you.
A couple of things. One, we want to finish the schedule for webinars for the next year. So we have the first 3 months confirmed, but we want to have a schedule for the whole year. So everybody knows when these sessions are coming up in advance. And we want to invite everybody here to participate. Lily already sent a message from us, inviting you to do a webinar session like today's. So we want to invite everybody to send us proposals so we can come up with a plan for the whole year. So if there are any topics around supervision that you think is a specialty, something that you can bring of value for this network, please do it. And we want it to be interactive like today. We want to have the opportunity for people to get to know each other. So we build a community here of supervisors that is originally from North America, but everybody's welcome, everybody's invited, not only supervisors, also coaches interested in supervision, or anybody who's interested in supervision is welcome to this space. So we want to thank you. Since it's the last session of the year, we want to thank everybody who have been supporting this network.